Hello and welcome back to the Breaking the Ice podcast. I am your co-host, Elliott Draga, joined by my other co-host, Lloyd Overton today. Lloyd, how you doing?
I'm all good, Elliott. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I forgot to mention episode 4, season 1, episode 4 for the millions of followers that we have now.
I'm 1.5 days away from a holiday for 2 weeks, so I'm buzzing right now.
Yeah. The energy's palpable, Lloyd. But are you in that? Phase where, like, I don't know if you're an early packer, a late packer. I travel a ton, so I have like a system down where it takes me about 5 minutes to get out the door now. But I guess it's different going on holiday, right? So where are you in the packing life cycle?
So I think, in fairness, because we got 2 kids to make sure we can, not leave behind. We don't want a kind of Home Alone scenario. We got most of the kind of clothes type stuff done on Sunday, and we're doing a bit of a road trip as well. So we're coming to your neck of the woods, slightly south in the US. We're going to some different places in California. But yeah, in addition to that, it's kind of, at the moment, it's like, right, make some lists. Have I got the power banks? Have I got the tickets? Have I got the confirmations? Is the dog, has he been picked up? All of that kind of stuff. So that's where we are right now. It's kind of, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but we're in pretty good shape.
Now, you've got 2 teenage boys. Are you sure you don't want to Home Alone it and just
Yeah, one 15, one 12, so one's not quite there yet. But maybe. I mean, the way the 15-year-old was over the last couple of days, maybe he should be left behind. Very miserable. Lots of grunting.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Maybe feed that into AI and translate it. I don't know. Anyways, listen, we have a fun one today, particularly fun for me. I don't know if it's going to be fun for you, but we are going to talk all about you, Lloyd. Yeah, so I'm going to be mostly a passenger in this one, but, I thought it'd be great to, record some of the conversations that you and I have all the time, and just pick your brain, learn a little bit about your backstory, a little bit about how you came across the Ice Guys, just walk the timeline up to where we are today, and what's next. What's next for all of us. So I guess without further ado, you want to kick things off? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. This almost feels like a bit of a kind of Michael Aspel moment, actually. I mean, I know you won't know Michael Aspel is, Elliott, or you might do, but I'm hoping he's not going to come busting through the door with a red book in his hand. Who am I? So I'm Lloyd. I've been with ICE for, about 8.5 years now. I've been doing the kind of insurance thing for 20 plus years. So very much on the kind of insurer side prior to tech sales. Sold insurance for a bit. That was the first kind of furrow into insurance. And again, it was very different back then. So when I very first moved to Dorset, which is where I live now, I used to live in London. I was born in the city. I was born and brought up. I went to school in the city, and then met my wife on holiday. She was at Bournemouth University, which brought me down to Dorset, which is a cracking part of the world to live. And it was all quite sudden. So it was all done in a few days. And it was like, right, what do I do? I'm here. Where do I go? So I kind of just approached a few recruitment agencies, and this insurance company came up, and it was the Insurance Advisory Service. And I thought, well, what's that all about? Sounds a bit interesting. Let's go have a chat. It was a insurance business. They were selling insurance primarily to people over the age 50. Mm-hmm. That was what they kind of specialized in. And it was really quite cool at the time, because when I went for the job interview, I kind of got walked around the business, and it was at a time when insurance had lots of call centers, lots of departments, lots of people, and they didn't necessarily employ people as kind of the newbie. You went in as like a cohort of people. So, I'm new to the area. I don't really know anybody yet. I've gone and joined this business with 20 other people that were all in the same place as me. So it was a really good way of kind of making some friends in a new place, as well as kind of cutting my teeth in a different industry. That business, kind of a bit like ICE, really went through quite a bit of change. It turned into from the IAS to RIAS, which is known as RIAS, which is a big brand in the insurance industry in the UK right now, specializes in over 50s insurance, and that business was acquired by an organization called Acturis, which is one of the one of the biggest personal lines insurers in the UK. Those guys are going great guns. They've just acquired eShore. They're really kind of pushing hard in that space. And yeah, I was there for 12 years. It was quite honestly a brilliant time. I learned a hell of a lot. I made a lot of friends. And I took a lot of chances.
And I guess from a sort of a product perspective, what types of products were you targeting, or were on offer?
Yeah, no, good question. So I was primarily based on the household side of the fence, but it was motor, household. We offered a number of kind of add-on products, including things like kind of home emergency, legal expenses, garden cover. Had some kind of affinity partnerships where we were offering things like travel as well, Elliott. So at the time, it was actually done with an organization called Europe Assistance, which are based out of the same place as Collinson, which is what Europe Assistance became, and I used to have a bit of involvement in managing that relationship at one point in time, and actually a good story about EA was a visit to their call center, because being based primarily in kind of household, doing all things personal lines, hadn't had a massive amount of experience in travel, even down to the point of, how's it run? How do claims get done? What's it all about? So I went to the call center and they walked me through and they said, look, this is our go room back here. And I was like, what's a go room? And it was basically a room where doctors can go in, grab some, like a defib, they can grab a load of kit. And if they need to go and be somewhere where someone's seriously ill in a different country, that was where it was. They had a call center there, as you would expect, dealing with claims and things like that. And there were two guys there. And the guys that I knew at EA at the time, they said, look, these guys are gold dust. They're really important to us. And I was like, right, why is that? They were twins. These two guys were twins. But between the two of them, they spoke like 20 languages. Yeah. So they always had one of these guys on at any one time, so that they could, they could communicate with different hospitals and doctors and all of those kind of things that were going on within a kind of typical travel claim. So, for me, that was a massive eye opener. I was kind of like, Jesus, this is a totally different, kind of claims experience to, hey, I've dropped my TV down the stairs, or, I'm having a bit of a dispute with my neighbor, or my boiler's gone bang. It was really eye opening for me to see that.
Yeah. It's actually, just to come full circle, EA just rebranded as well. So they're called Ready On now. Still under the EA brand, but they had this sort of global rebrand. So, funny how things come full circle. So I guess, the other question I want to ask is, did you find that whether it was the products that were on offer or the types of covers within those products that were on offer differed because of the unique target market that was being offered? Obviously you're not interested in selling term life insurance necessarily to that cohort, right? So I guess how much did the senior category influence the products and benefits that you were offering?
That's a really good question as well, actually. I mean, you're absolutely right. When I was there working in amongst kind of the product and selling it and administering it and things like that, it was very much understanding that, these are a very different cohort of people, as you quite rightly described. They're totally different to kind of, younger people and because of that, and this is where I started to learn more and more about insurance. It's like, right, well, we're quoting a lower price to these guys because they're a lower risk. They probably a bit more kind of diligent over things. They take a bit more care over things, are a bit more experienced. So actually, you start to appreciate kind of what risk profiles are like with regards to insurance. But you're right, there were definitely different ways of going about things, working with the kind of over 50s and the kind of retired market for sure. And you're right, you maybe didn't sell quite as much kind of ski equipment cover and a few more kind of, funeral plans, unfortunately. But it's the nature of the beast, and people bought them because they appreciated that's where we are in life, and these are the things we need to be thinking about. Yeah. But equally, I really enjoyed talking to the customers. I really enjoyed doing that, and actually they were lovely people to talk to, as you can imagine. And on top of that as well, the thing that I kind of really appreciated with regards to working in that kind of industry was, okay, right, so I've kind of seen it at the coalface. What can I do next? I'm kind of, I'm getting a bit bored here. What can I do next? And And this role came up, and it was like, right, we want to get somebody into our underwriting team. I was like, underwriting, what does that mean? You got underwriting, undertaker. I didn't at the time. I really didn't appreciate or even know what it even meant. So I started reading into it. And I was like, right, an underwriter. So an underwriter is someone that is involved in this whole piece around, can we take this risk? Can we take that risk? Is the price we're charging correct? Do we need to take some extra kind of steps to make sure someone's got the right cover in place or a differing excess because the risk is a little bit higher? So I thought, I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to do some research. I'm going to go for the job, which I did. And I didn't get it. I didn't get the job. I got to the last two. I didn't get the job. But about a week later, the lady that interviewed me came up and said, we liked you so much. We've made another position because we'd like you to join the underwriting team. So I was like, okay, cool. So I joined the underwriting team. And then before long, I kind of worked in that for a while, and we brought some really kind of cool things to that team, because back in the day it was not quite as automated as insurance is right now. So it was like, right, what can we do to help the guys on the phone with these kind of underwriting referrals? And we had a panel of insurers that was kind of across that RIAS business. And, you had advisors on the phone kind of calling through and saying, right, well, this person lives in a subsidence area, but there's no kind of steps or diagonal cracking. There's not this. And, and they'd come to us with a load of information. That would land in an in tray. We'd review it. We'd read it. We'd look at what delegated authority we'd got from the insurers. We might need to speak to them as well as us. And then we'd make a call on it, whether it's a loading or some terms added to the policy. But by that time, the person's kind of, they've got their answer 2 days later maybe, and they've gone and found insurance elsewhere. So it's like, right, how do we stop this from happening? So actually, we started to put underwriting advisors within the kind of RIAS business into the call centres. Yeah. So actually, people could come and talk to us directly, and we'd try and get the answer there and then for them so that they could kind of convert more of these sales. Yeah. So that was, we made some changes, and people like that. I think before that was what it was, really.
It's funny because I always like to say the analogy of insurance in general is kind of like peeling an onion. There's the insurance that we consume on a day-to-day basis. And so there's the consumer lens of just sort of, I buy something and it protects me in case anything goes wrong. But then as you get deeper and deeper, there's so many different angles and facets to something that's seemingly pretty simple. Right? It's a policy and it's a claim. But there's just so much. I had the same experience, which is a story for another day, right? But just, how we interact with insurance as a consumer versus the reality of how dynamic it is behind the scenes, are totally different. So, okay. So, you're underwriting. What happens next?
So we did that for a while. We tried to incorporate some of these changes to streamline some process within the business. And again, this is way before being able to do the sorts of things we're doing now, Elliott, around kind of automating process. It was just thinking about how we could do things a bit differently just to help the organization. And what happened next was I used to liaise very closely with what was called the commercial management department. And these guys were the ones that were liaising with the add-on suppliers, the insurers, and a number of others. One of those insurers being Acturis, who obviously owned our organization because we were the kind of customer-facing brand of that business at that time. And there was a lady that went on maternity leave, and I thought, right, well, why not? Let's go again. Let's just see if we can get up there and work with these guys. And I got the job there, so I kind of, again, stayed, and the secondment ended, and I carried on within that team. I didn't go back into underwriting from that point on. And that's when I started to realize and appreciate just how connected insurance is, not necessarily just from a kind of business perspective, but from a people perspective. Now I'm talking to everybody kind of outside of RIAS and Acturis, and I'm making connections with the likes of Acturis and Legal & General and AXA and a whole host of other EA, a whole host of other insurers. And some of these people I'm still connected with and friends with now, and it's from that perspective, insurance is a brilliant business. It's a people business. It's a relationship business, and I'm glad that's not changed. It's still very much the same way now. And one of the things that Acturis did at the time is there was amongst kind of RIAS being this kind of retired specialist in kind of personal lines insurance, you had some other brands out there called Saga You had another brand that was an offshoot of RIAS, set up by some people that were within that business called Castle Cover. And at the time, Acturis was like, right, we want to dominate the space, right? So we're going to acquire Castle Cover. So they acquired Castle Cover and they put the two brands together. Kind of to the things we've been going through in terms of ICE insurtech and this now becoming ICE tech. Of course, when that happens, it takes some time to bed in. It takes some time to realize who's doing what and what the direction of travel is and smooth things out over a period. But over that period of time, all that did is give me exposure to even more insurers. And interestingly, there was as much as I loved my time at Acturis, and I still talk to people there now, and I've got a good relationship and fond memories of that business and my role there. Basically, what happened is they decided actually that, we don't want to work with a panel anymore. We want to write this business solus. So they kind of served notice on the panel, which by that point, after the acquisition of Castle Cover, was huge. It's a big panel of insurers. Went down to Acturis, and I'm kind of there thinking, commercial management, managing a sort of, a kind of portfolio of insurance businesses that are all going, what am I going to do now? And I didn't want to go back to kind of doing what I was doing before. So I was kind of like, right, what's next? And I started having some conversations with one of the insurers. I started having some conversations with an organization called Canopius, and they were kind of progressing positively over a period of time. And they were kind of like, how'd you fancy having a go at setting up an over 50s direct proposition for us? And I was like, geez, well, I don't know. Can I do it? Can't I do it? It was another one of those kind of fortuitous situations. And I thought, what the hell? Let's give it a go. And I kind of said to those guys, and I had a great relationship with the Canopius guys. And I said, I can't do it on my own. There's going to need to be some other people involved in this, to make it a success. They said, look, you bring some people to the table. We'll have a conversation. We'll see where it goes. Well, we did. We were having meetings in Dorchester and London and different places, and we put a business plan together, and we done a whole host of other things, how we were going to market it, how we were going to, and all of those things that we put to them. And they said, yeah, good, let's go. Let's do it. It was a bloody frightening time for me, though, because actually I'd worked for that Acturis business for 12 years. I'd just had my second son, George. He was young at the time. My wife was on maternity leave, and I'm thinking, my God, what am I doing? And do you know what? I'm a pretty chilled, laid back guy. And we went out one night once I'd said yes, and it unfortunately was put, you could say fortunately, unfortunately, I was put onto garden leave. We went out for dinner one night, and I started hyperventilating. I had a complete full-on panic attack. I had a complete panic attack in a pub on Mother's Day, and I remember it vividly. And I went into the car park and said, my God, what's going on here? And my wife got in the car, she drove us back. And I realized it was just, there were just so many things converging at one time. Especially being, dad to a second child and stuff like that. But again, it was good. It was successful. Yep. It was worth taking the chance.
Yeah. And then, so Canopius, did that eventually to ICE? I'm curious to know how you came across the ICE business. Yeah.
It did. So Canopius was a shorter stint for sure. It was a couple of years. But we got that business live. We were trading. It was working. But I think, in fairness, what happened is Canopius, in fairness to those guys, they're a cat risk Lloyd's underwriter. They are now number one, as I understand it. I think they were probably something like 6 or 7 when I was there. But they're insuring everything from Chinese power stations to satellites to personal, to warranty. They do everything, as you would expect a proper large Lloyd syndicate to do. Someone came in, didn't really like that kind of UK retail piece as much as we did, and they sold it to A-Plan. And at that point, it was kind of stay and do a job within distribution in Canopius and at Lloyd's, or go down to Oxford and A-Plan. And at the time, you'll know this, Elliott, as well as a number of people in the market. Lloyd's is a great place. It's a fun place. I loved being there. I loved all the traditional elements of it. I took my granddad for a walk around the Lloyd's building, which I've got fond memories of. Bless him, he's gone now. But one thing that they are a bit resistant to is change, certainly when it comes to the different ways of trading, and we've talked about this at some length in the past as well. So I kind of thought to myself, right, I'm not sure, what's next. And interestingly, we used a piece of software to get that product live. It was a startup organization at the time. And again, the timing was just perfect. Again, I had some conversations and it was kind of like, how do you fancy selling insurance IT into kind of insurance businesses? You've worked in insurance, you understand the lingo, you can talk to underwriters, you can tell them how great it is at being able to get products live quickly and all of that kind of good stuff. And I thought about it and I thought, yeah, do you know what? Let's try this one too. Let's go again. So I went and worked for this organization for a couple of years. Enjoyed it, but I think, you've got to be in the right mindset and probably the right time of life to be able to kind of really grab a startup kind of mentality with both hands. Again, I had 2 young kids. They were kind of going after opportunities in the UK, in America, in Europe, and it was all very exciting. But, at the time, it didn't really suit me. It didn't really suit me. And one of the guys at Canopius who I knew really well, who's actually at Penn Underwriting now, a good friend of mine, a chap called Rob Morris, he's married to a lady called Denise, who runs a recruitment agency called Hyams Recruitment. And she'd had some good conversations with Andrew. I think they go back some time. Andrew's obviously the CEO and founder of ICE. And she said, look, don't know if he's up for a conversation or he's doing anything different at the moment, but reach out to him and have a chat. And Andrew did. He kind of reached out on LinkedIn, and I think he still kind of reminds me to this day that I think I blanked him for a bit longer than I probably should have done. But we did finally start exchanging messages, and he said, look, just come and meet the guys in Camberley. Let us tell you a bit about the business. We're definitely in a different place to where you are right now and the organization you're working for. So I did. I came into Camberley, met Al Robertson, I met Lynette, I met a number of other people at ICE, and they were kind of talking to me about their kind of direction of travel. Just been acquired by Acturis in the November. I think I'd gone in like the March or April, and I'd heard of Acturis too, which was good. And that was kind of my journey to working with ICE, really. And I just looked at it and thought, more established, been around longer, definitely more stable in terms of, we know where we are, what we do well, and where we want to go next. And actually, with that kind of Actress backing, I thought, you know what, this is a bit of me. I fancy this. I can see this business really going places.
Yeah. And so you joined post-acquisition. How big was ICE at that time?
ICE at that time, don't quote me exactly, but I think it was turning over something in the region of about 4 million. There was probably something in the region of about 43, 45 people there at the time. Okay. A lot of familiar faces, but it was just that they'd landed ERS by that point. I think there was some conversations ongoing with the AA. There were some conversations going with Ticker, but the boom bit hadn't really happened at that point. But I could see that it was. I could see that it was possible.
And so, how many years now have you been with ICE? Or leading up until the merger?
8.5 years. So I've been with ICE for 8.5 years. And again, it's interesting. I kind of criticize myself somewhat here. I thought at that point in time, I've got the insurance T-shirt, I've got the kind of IT sales T-shirt, I'm just going to roll in there, it's going to be easy, I know everything. But you just don't. I don't think you do in any role you do. And I've learned a huge amount working at ICE in terms of, that startup mentality is just, let's do anything we can to win the business. That's, that we just got to, everything was kind of rushed and fast versus enterprise sales. So, I just couldn't believe some of the numbers involved, some of the kind of ways in which you engage. I couldn't believe some of the kind of lead times on some of the bigger insurers and things like that. Some different tactics that I wouldn't have even thought of. I'm eternally grateful. I think I talked to you before about really enjoying everywhere I've worked, actually. I have enjoyed everywhere that I've worked. But, I'm not just saying this because I'm at ICE now, but I love the business. It's fantastic. And to be a part of something and see it go from something here to what we are now with the merger that's now complete. And I still think there's loads of runway left for us. Loads.
Oh, yeah. I mean, more so now than 6 months ago, and certainly more so than 6 years ago. It's funny, though, just thinking about what you said. I've been in tech for a long time. And I think the reality is when you're in it for a long time, you live many lives because there's this innovation cycle that happens and these big sweeping changes that happen that they either force companies to exit or they force companies to redefine themselves. And I noticed that, across 15 years, there were these sort of big epochs that happened, right? The way that software was built, the way that it was distributed. And, I think, you joined ICE at a certain point in that innovation curve, and then the next big swell happens and the business changes, but then also, being on the commercial side of things, how you represent the business changes and how you represent what solution you have on offer. I think it's a big testament. You think about the Acturis group in general, or the Acturis platform, and then, the subsidiary companies. The longevity of those companies is pretty impressive when you think about the big milestones in tech that companies have had to go through, platforms have had to adapt to. It's pretty impressive.
It really is, and actually, that's a good point. When I joined ICE, it was interesting to be selling the ICE platform whilst my wife sat in the room next door on the Acturis platform as a user. And David McDonald made us stand up at a party we went to at Christmas once. It was, it was interesting to see that and actually to understand a bit more about what they did, because I'd heard the name but didn't know everything. But equally, I like competitors. I think we need them. Insurers are kept on their toes by their clients and their customers and other insurers, coming up with innovative ideas in the exact same way as I think we do. We're definitely driven by insurers and the end customer for sure in how our platforms operate and work. But to be innovative and to be, to go after different markets and to make sure we're kept on our toes, we need competitors. And actually, it's interesting to, I'm looking into the market as much as I am for new opportunities into what competitors are doing, just and kind of feeding that information back into ICE, just because I think, it's good. It's healthy. Healthy competition's good.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we all want to do the right thing and the best thing for the market, right? So I agree with you. It's a good thing. I think it helps to be a bit of a signpost or a guiding light. What is the direction of travel? Where are things heading? So maybe that's a great segue into the phase that we're in now. Obviously, the merger is about 6 months old. How are things going now? Where do you see things continuing on in the future?
That's a good question. I think, one of the things I would say I saw quite a lot of in the first few years at ICE was we've got a fantastic team of people. We seem to get it right every time. It always goes in and gets delivered, which is something I quote, in spades now when I'm talking to new opportunities. It's really good tech. The claim system, when I originally got the claim system walkthrough, I'm like, what, bloody 300 screens plus? It's like, my God, the depth of a claim system versus a policy system was a bit of an eye-opener for me as well, just in terms of all the different workflows that exist there. But I kept kind of going to kind of events and things like that, and people say, ICE, I've not heard of ICE. And I'm like, God, why haven't these people heard of ICE? Genuinely, I've come across like 3 or 4 different platforms now, and these guys are light years ahead. Really are. But again, that was a bit of a journey. We were really desperate to win a tier 1. We got round the table at a insurer I might have spoken about not that long ago. We done that a couple of times. We were the bridesmaid a couple of times, more times than I would have liked, actually. But we kept knocking, we kept trying, we got very close on one and didn't give up, and we won that. So all of a sudden, I can remember having this conversation with Andrew, and he said, we'd like to do something outside the UK, we'd like to win a tier 1, and we'd like to do something in commercial. And I think we cracked all of those 3 things in pretty quick succession, actually. I think it was over the course of like 12 to 15 months, we'd ticked all those boxes. It was a hard slog, and we'd been through the mill on a few of them and lost out on a few. But the good thing is once you get that kind of tier 1, well, then all of a sudden it's easy to get the next tier 1. So we worked with RSA, and then that definitely helped us win Aviva. We've done some stuff in commercial, which then, puts a focus within our business on some functionality that exists in that kind of mid-market commercial space from an MGA perspective, things that value add to ice, but don't tread on the toes of Acturis. And then, of course, when you go outside of the territory, it's like, right, well, where have you deployed ice? Oh, I've only deployed it in the UK. Well, no, actually, we've got a customer in New Zealand now. We've got a customer in Ireland now. It's an easier decision then for that customer in, say, France or Greece or Italy to then go, right, you guys have done it. You know what it takes to move into a new territory. It's just an easier decision for them to make. So it's been for me, it's been just as much fun in kind of, helping generate a greater awareness of ICE and what we do as it has been from actually selling the solution. I think, if you ask me what's next, like you, I think, the pipeline's good. People definitely do know about us now. We're talking to lots of people. We've got a very credible story to tell. It's great what we're doing in the kind of AI space. I think we're ahead of a number of our competition where that's concerned. I think we're in an interesting time in the market right now. Because, a lot of people I'm talking to are saying similar things to me in terms of, it's great, pipeline's good, conversations are positive, but, making that final decision is somewhat slower than than I've seen it over the last couple of years. But, for me, I think we're going to win more tier one organizations. You guys are going to help us in terms of, territory expansion and some of that good stuff. I think, we cover more bases than we've ever covered before. The fact the two businesses are together now, again, if we come back to my point around having a better story to tell, we've got a better story to tell. We're a bigger team. We're turning over more business. We're in more territories. So I just see it as a big positive. And, I look forward to where the next 3 to 5 years goes for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was surprised to hear that you didn't mention, becoming a full-time podcaster, because, as this rocket ship continues to soar, we're going to get very busy, Lloyd, you and I, with this.
I think I posted the podcast the other day, and so I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I don't think
that's okay. As long as everybody else likes it, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. I said my wife probably doesn't, but that's me and everybody else. I would say, but I'm really enjoying it. It's good. I like the kind of relaxed feel about it. It's good to tell a story. It's good to have some fun, and I've enjoyed having other people involved as well. So and I think actually we've got a lot to talk about. So it's been fun.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. I just want to, before we sort of wrap up here, just echo. It's an exciting time that we're in. I think ton of opportunity. There's a ton of uncertainty that's weighing over a lot of markets. It's not just the insurance market. My background is actually in the produce world, believe it or not, fruits and veg. And there's just a tremendous amount of uncertainty in that marketplace. You've got tariffs that are on, tariffs that are off. You've got climate that's impacting crop yields. You've got I think just with the way that the world is changing rapidly and how interconnected it is, I think that there's a ton of uncertainty, and obviously from a tech standpoint, we're still in the early infancy stages of AI, and people are using it now on a daily basis and quite ubiquitously. A lot of people are using it all the time, but I still think it's an unpolished diamond. And I think that uncertainty is clouding everyone's ability to really, chart a path forward and make a decision and stick to it. 4 or 5 years ago, it was, I know that I need to make X investment to yield Y return. And now everybody's just sort of like, I don't know. I mean, we need to recalculate everything. We need to, go back to the drawing board, because we can't clearly or definitively predict what the world is going to be in 5 years. So I think we're stuck in that sort of haze right now, but I absolutely think, what we're doing as a combined business right now is certainly on the right path. We're working dynamically with one another, and it's very, very exciting to think about where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years. I do look forward to, retiring and just doing this podcast full time with you very soon. So, yeah. Anyways, Lloyd, I know you were kind of felt on the spot today, but really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure everyone else will as well. And you've got a couple weeks off now, so go enjoy your vacation. I'll hold down the fort here, and look forward to I don't know what episode it'll be when you're back, but two or three episodes from now. It'd be great to have you back.
Cheers, Elliott. It's been great talking. Thanks for your time.
All right, until next time, everyone. Thanks.
Bye, guys.